Oh gosh, goodness, we're on the spot straight away. I love it. Goodness. So I've gone through a bit of a journey the last few years. A big part of that journey has been coming into sobriety from alcohol after spending a good part of a decade under the grips of my own patterns of trauma and mayhem, which, I've always been a very ambitious person, but playing out these same cycles of pain was really stopping me from getting anywhere near my fullest potential, at any stage in my life. And it took a few big, sort of life events, big eye-opening events for me to begin to, I guess, shift my perspective a little, begin to realize what was important, and then begin to travel down a different path.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so at this point in my life, I feel like I've been given, I guess, this second breath, this sort of second chance to do all the things that I've been wanting to do over the last 10 years that I've been held back by with my own, internal battles that I've been facing and, I guess, playing over for years on end.
Wow, that's really touching to hear that. And I guess before we jump into the meat of this conversation, I thought we'd do something a little bit fun, and it's called quickfire random questions.
Love it.
So I'm going to shoot out a few random questions, and we'll see how we go. So, do you believe in aliens?
I do.
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very interesting subject. I like to think that we are not the only intelligent life form out there in this big, vast, mysterious universe.
Okay.
And yes, so that's definitely a yes on my behalf.
Is the globe flat or round?
Goodness gracious! It is round.
Okay.
Round.
All right. And we're gonna dip into pop culture now. Do you feel sorry for Megan from the royal interview, or was it just overhyped?
You know what? I have not watched the royal interview, and it is something that I cannot really give an opinion on. That one there, I'm afraid.
All good. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, liquid of the gods. Can't get through a single day without it. I know it's terrible. I'm on the water now. 2 coffees down. So yeah, we'll try and balance that one out.
How many coffees a day do you average?
Ooh, I'd like to say 2, but they're typically double shots. So that's probably closer to 4.
My goodness. How are you still alive? I thought you'd be shaking at the.
No, I've calmed it down today. Just 2 single shots, so we're all right. No jitters yet.
And last question. This is a bit of a riddle / thinker. So, if you built a time machine and you traveled into the past to meet your grandfather before he gave birth to your father. So let's say you accidentally plunged a knife into his back. I don't know, just say you accidentally slipped over. I mean, it's not going to happen, but let's just say hypothetically it did. If you killed your grandfather in the past, would you exist now? Yes or no?
Ooh. Oh goodness gracious! I think sort of scientifically maybe a no, but maybe from a spiritual side, maybe we could say yes. So it depends what angle you want to look at that one from, I guess. Or maybe the aliens could have came down and artificially impregnated. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I am an alien.
Cool. No, thanks for that was the rapid fire questions. First time I've been doing it. So
there you go. Some random questions, some random answers. I love it.
Thanks, man. And alrighty, so I'm actually curious about your business endeavors because I've had a suss on your social medias and you're building this this business card app or this. Do you mind expanding on that, please?
Sure. Well, I've spent the last at least 12 months on that now, since about March last year. And so this idea came off the back of iPhones sneakily turning off their NFC readability. And that really opened up the opportunity for a whole bunch of cool new ideas to sort of, come out into the world. And I sort of sat back and took a look at this and thought about the different angles that I could hit this, and came up with the concept for a digital business card. And so essentially what this does is, as opposed to someone who would traditionally go out and buy maybe 500 business cards every 6 months and have a stack in the car and a few in their wallet, and they're handing these paper cards out, which I guess a big point to make there would be the fact that 88% of paper cards are thrown out within the first week, according to statistics. And so I thought, wow, there's a huge opportunity to create something cool here. And so I got to work on getting to know the space, especially in regards to near field communication, which is the technology that these rely on, and got to work actually creating this concept. And so it took us 8 months to get to market, because we had to obviously develop everything on the back end. And I put an amazing team together, which was beautiful. The more I sort of started to share this idea and share the passion behind it, the more people wanted to be involved. And so I was able to make all the right handshakes happen to be able to bring this to life relatively quickly. And so essentially what it does is you tap this card onto someone's phone, and it uses the same technology as your contactless payment systems.
Yep.
And this actually brings up a profile which holds all your business details or anything you want to share about your business. And as soon as you tap that card onto, say, a prospect or new client's phone, in just a matter of a few clicks, they can save all your details directly into their contacts. And so, as opposed to traditionally, if you're sort of digging through this, digging through a drawer or something, looking for a specific business card, it's all going to be there in your phone, ready to go. So the next time you need a plumber or a real estate agent or whatever it might be, it's there in your phone, and you're going to be the person they decide to call, as opposed to digging through their wallet or digging through their drawer looking for that other paper business card, the one that would typically have been thrown out.
Yeah, right. So for those of you that I'm actually showing, I'm not sure if you can see this, Luke, but I'm actually showing your Instagram at the moment on the live stream, which is So I think this is a genius idea, dude. Like a lot of respect goes out to you because you're innovating, you're hustling, you're creating something, and I love talking to creative minds and people who are on that wavelength. So definitely. So I'm just curious. So with the actual, so it's an NFC card.
This is the same cards that you would typically use to open up a hotel door, for example. It runs on that same technology, and so essentially we program the cards to your specific profile, and so as soon as you tap it, it's going to appear with your profile, which you can log in and update those details at any time. And so that's essentially skipping the need to go and just buy all these paper business cards and hand them out and keep a stack here, keep a stack there. You can buy this one card and share those details time and time again.
I guess, like from a practical point of view, this would be good in like a networking event. Just say you're meeting heaps of people, and hey, this is you just show the little boss the card, and I love it. It's fantastic.
And that's a huge thing too. Sorry, just the wow factor there. Anytime I've tapped this on someone's phone, that's that little moment where you're really creating an impression that otherwise wouldn't have the chance to create with someone, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, awesome. And what's the origin story behind this? I'm curious to hear how did this enter into your mind? How did this enter into your brain?
So I've been sort of working, building out e-com websites for other people for about 3 years now. And so essentially I would kind of incubate these people that otherwise didn't know anything about how to sell online, or they had a product and didn't know how to sort of, get that online and start making sales. So I would bring people in and essentially take them through the whole process, get them online, get them selling, and then take over their marketing campaigns to continue to bring more eyes to the brand. And so all these skill sets were fantastic, and it was great that I was able to do that for other people. But I really wanted to be able to bring out a product of my own, and actually start selling something that was mine, something that I could be proud of, and so upon sort of stumbling across a couple of similar concepts that were gaining traction in the United States, I realized that, there was a huge opportunity to innovate within the space and create something that was, I guess, necessary, and create something that was new and exciting. And so I touched on a few different concepts and ideas in regards to, creating tappable displays for restaurants, and, another sort of concept that would have been able to, I guess, free up some congestion in medical centers and things like that, with tappable displays that they could go ahead and make their bookings on and things like that. But I thought, in regards to creating something like that, you're really sort of relying on a specific niche, whereby I wanted to be able to broaden my audience. And so that's where the idea for a business card came from, because at the end of the day, there's sort of no shortage of niches that can be sort of targeted for something like this, because it's something that every business needs. Every business, most businesses do still use the traditional paper business card. And for something like this, it was something that was, I feel like, could have been more broadly received. And in the long run, I felt like this was something more appropriate to actually build a brand on. And then all those other innovative ideas, about targeting certain niches can come on the back of that brand. And so, after 8 months, we had a product in hand, which was ready to go to market.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I like that. Just touching into what you just said, then, the environmental aspect of that. People. I guess just touching on my experience, when I was selling T-shirts, I went out and bought a bunch of business cards, and looking back at that, that's such a wastage. You've got piles of unused business cards, and it's more like a egotistical thing to, hey, look at me, I'm handing out my business cards, blah blah blah. Yeah. But then when you switch the gears up, when it's, hang on a second, this is a massive waste. Hence comes into your product. This is much respect to you. You're not only using technology, but you're also helping the environment in that manner. So good on you, man. That's
these cards are fully recyclable. Besides the actual chip in the card itself, they're made from 100% PVC. And so, it's still a use of plastic and contributing to that plastic production, but as opposed to
the
deforestation element.
Absolutely.
It's a huge shift, and
it's a huge shift.
For something like this, business cards haven't changed, in a long time, and I guess besides people possibly getting a certain print or a certain finish on their business card, again for that egotistical sort of element, they haven't changed, they haven't updated. And we live in a digital world now. Everything's digital, so why not the business card?
Absolutely, 100% agree with you there. And how's the journey been so far with the Little Boss at the moment?
Look, it has been an absolutely beautiful experience bringing this to life. It has tested me in ways that I haven't been tested before. And it's really allowed for a lot of personal growth. You know, I won't shy away from the fact that yes, I've had my head in my hands on the bathroom floor, you know, in absolute tears and distress, sitting there feeling sorry for myself, wondering why things aren't working and why things aren't happening as quick as I want them to. And, you know, there was obviously a lot of hurdles along the way in regards to finding the right suppliers, and I guess having issues with, you know, the first few test batches of cards that we got, they weren't the quality that we wanted them to be. And so, you know, this was, yeah, there was a lot of different testing points that sort of brought me to the edge and back, which again has just allowed for an amazing amount of personal growth, and just a lot of inner work over the last you know, 12 months, sort of as this has been from the incubating stage to coming into launch to figuring out the angles to market it from that are actually going to work. And, you know, with something like this, it's so new that, you know, it often confuses people, you know, before they have a chance to actually, you know, see the concept and see what it does. And so, you know, at the start, I was very arrogant with my marketing, thinking, oh, well, this is amazing. Everybody else is going to think this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone that I show this to says, wow. So, and it's not like that, you know. You need to, you know, there's certain things you got to do when you're marketing a product to be able to introduce that to your audience lightly. And so, upon taking a step back from the business, and you know, there was a couple of months there, December, January, where I just wasn't working on the business, and you know, I had to sort of come into that from a different angle to be able to make things work, and touch wood. You know, the product is out there now. I've been inundated with orders. It's the last week has been the busiest week we've had in the business. Which is
sorry, I'm just going to interject there. What are your marketing channels? How are you marketing the product?
So I was originally just running a Facebook ads campaign, and again, I realized that you know, you've got about 3 seconds to grab someone's attention on Facebook, and you know, to be able to sell complete conviction with someone that they want to sort of, you know, take this introduction to this product within 3 seconds was very difficult. And so I took a step back and started just doing some groundwork, getting out and speaking to people face to face, and just doing a lot of prospecting in Facebook groups, and just across Facebook itself, just opening up conversations with people. And the reception to that has been huge. Like I said, we've just had our biggest week in regards to sales. We've just taken on a reseller here in Australia as well, which I'm totally enthusiastic about the relationship that we're going to be able to build.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And
wow.
Yeah, so we've done the biggest week that we've done, and that's all just been from groundwork and prospecting and word of mouth. People now that have got this in their hands that are speaking to their friends and introducing them to Little Boss as well.
Yeah, that's look, all the best for you on that endeavor. And maybe we can switch gears a little bit.
Definitely.
And I want to maybe. It might go down a bit of a dark road at the moment. It might go down a little bit of a black color.
Yes.
And I'd like you to touch on your alcoholic experience, because not just for anything, but maybe if someone's listening to this right now that knows somebody or is experiencing these tough times. So you've gone through the fire, and I'd like to shed that light.
Definitely. Well, excuse me. So I've always been someone that has, I guess, had a very overactive mind. And, you know, in my younger years, I would come to my father with all these different ideas that I thought were really fantastic and it was going to change the world. And he would just say to me, Luke, that's great, mate. But just, you know, have you got a job at the moment? You know, or, you know, look, you just need to focus on one thing at a time, mate. One thing at a time. And he was very right. He was very right. If I didn't stop and put everything else aside, Little Boss wouldn't be a thing today.
Yeah.
But with that, you know, it was, I guess, my biggest gift and my biggest detriment at the same time, because having this hyperactive mind that was flowing with all these fantastic ideas was great until I would try and sleep at night, and then that overactive mind would turn into, I guess,
the enemy. Well, not the enemy, but yeah, I know where you're going with. Yeah,
and you know, I experimented with a lot of different drugs and alcohol when I was younger, and you know, alcohol just, it's the one that's always there. It's always easily accessible. It's the one that society very much just serves up on a silver platter and says it's okay. And I fell into some very, very destructive patterns in that time. And so from the age of 17 to 27, I was essentially, I would drink. I'd find myself into, I would very much slip into these cycles where I'm drinking every day. And I come from a hospitality background. And so it was very much normalized to have those knockoff drinks, and it's very much normalized to, I guess, drink sometimes while you're working even. That industry can be very, very cutthroat. And, you know, I found myself under the grip the first time when I was 23, after experiencing a couple of robberies, once when I was 19. And that was essentially just hanging out with the wrong people, the wrong crowd. And, you know, I had a lot of music equipment, which obviously was very expensive and appealing to, you know, those types of people. And unfortunately, I lost 2 studios, and along with that, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of my creative work, which was absolutely soul crushing. And I found myself going to AA at one point to try and get sober.
How old were you when you went to AA?
I was 23 at that
23.
point. Yeah. And, you know, I remember walking into this meeting after 7 months of drinking every day, and by the end of it, it was just cask red wine. There was nothing pretty about it at all. I remember rolling around on my bed, you know, begging my mother to buy me a cask of wine at one point. And this is just the absolute lows, you know. And
sorry, I just want to kind of, I know it's not really something I should make fun of, poke fun of, but so you were into the goon? Was that the go-to, or?
Well, yes, it was never pretty. When I was in the deepest, darkest depths of my alcoholism, it would start fancy until I would lose my job and get behind in my bills, and you know, like I ended up back at my mum's house at 23. My car about to be repossessed, which it did. And no job. The job I'd been working and loving for the last 2.5 years, I'd lost. And yeah, it was sort of head in my hands type of moment. And I found myself in AA, and I'll never forget my first meeting where I was in tears when they asked if I wanted to share, and I just remember begging and saying, I just want my life back. You know, at 23, I just felt like it was gone. And I ended up getting sober for the first time for 5.5 months, which was, you know, a very beautiful experience. And I guess I learned a lot about myself, and the path began to shift. But this game of life had a few more lessons for me, I think, which, you know, I'm always, I only look back on all of my experiences now, and I'm just super grateful for them, because, you know, I'm actually turning into a person now at 29 that, you know, I think I'm the, you know, becoming the best version that I can be at this stage in life, and all of that, you know, I wouldn't be feeling like that if it wasn't for the experiences that have led to here. So yeah, after getting sober that first time and falling back, it was another 3 years of mayhem before I was able to really begin to make the shifts internally that I needed to be able to sustain sobriety.
Sorry, I just want to interject. So I just want to kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What was the darkest, most surreal memory of that whole experience? Just for the audience listening, what was the darkest time, and the time that you thought, I've got to make the change. I've got to change this.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, after coming back into alcoholism, and, you know, I thought for a few years there that I kind of had a handle on it, but things were progressively getting worse. I'd black out every time I would drink, and I would wake up, and the people around me would be telling me these stories that I actually had no version of myself, and that started to become very confronting.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't think I was a bad person, but I was doing all these really terrible things and creating all this trauma for myself and the ones around me. And as that started to get progressively worse, I was getting hurt. I would drink and I would get hurt, and, you know, whether that was a compression tear in my knee, or falling through a glass panel and having to get glass removed from my hand and not knowing why or how it happened, and things like that. I was finding myself at the hospital more and more, and that was starting to get rather scary, until it sort of took a very drastic turn. And one day, in a moment of magnified emotions, I grabbed a kitchen knife and made an attempt on my own life.
Okay.
And that was, you know, I was on suicide watch in the hospital for a couple of days, and, you know, that led to 3 surgeries in the coming 6 months, a loss of feeling in 2 of my fingers.
So you actually
I took a knife and slashed, and I was very lucky that I had a good friend of mine and some family close by that were able to rush to my assistance and make sure that the ambulance came as quick as possible. I'll never forget being in the back of that ambulance and them just giving me a shot of morphine and my whole body just going warm, and as this ambulance officer is trying to find out what exactly happened and let me know that I'm going to be okay at the same time. I just remember sitting there before I got in the ambulance and just smoking a cigarette, thinking, as the blood is pouring out of my wrist, thinking, oh no, what did I just do? And that was a very confronting few weeks after that. I sort of entered into a very dissociative state, and I think it was almost like my mind was just completely rewiring itself after that experience, because I started to, I guess, see things a little differently and understand things a little differently after that point. I think there was more of an appreciation for life in itself. And yeah, that was that was the moment where things started to change. Although for the next 6 months I was still drinking, I was still playing out that mayhem and that trauma, and it took me moving away from my hometown, my home city here on the Gold Coast, to a rural town, for me to actually have the space I needed to come back to myself and figure out what was important, and realize that I didn't want to continue playing out this narrative, that if I did, I would possibly end up dead. And at that point I had to choose life. I had to choose life. You know, it was more important, and I had things to do. And, you know, like I said, I can only be grateful now looking back at those experiences, because these are huge shifts, huge shifts internally. And, you know, I'll never forget being on a coach, coming back to the Gold Coast to see my family after another night of chaos. And it was very, very clear at that point that I wasn't going to have a drink again. There was just something switched internally, and from that day, I didn't touch a drop of alcohol, and that's, you know, over two and a half years ago now, and that's 2.5 years of growth, 2.5 years of blessings, and 2.5 years of absolute gratitude for the fact that I am still here, and, you know, I am able to continue to, you know, let creativity flow and actually not inebriate that creative mind and run away from it anymore.
Well, sending all the blessings to you, my friend. That's an awesome story to share. Very powerful story to share. And from a psychological point of view, why do you think people? I guess everybody's different, so we can't tar everybody with the same brush, but from a general idea, why do you think people turn to alcohol?
Look, in the last couple of years, I've begun to realize that, you know, a lot of people you know, and I did for a long time, working hospitality, and especially continuing to work that industry. You know, I realized that a lot of people put on masks every day to deal with their, whether it's their professional environment or their relationship or whatever it might be. But we're always wearing these masks, which can become very, very exhausting.
Yeah.
And you know, I've found, especially in hospitality, it almost is. It's like the hospitality mask. You know, you're always talking to customers, and you always got to be happy, and you always got to be vibrant, and you know, and then on the other side of that, you're working in the kitchen. It's a very testosterone sort of dominated environment, and you know, if you're not up with the banter and you're just giving off that very manly, blokey kind of energy, then
I get that.
It becomes a harder place to navigate, and so you've got a lot of just people, you know, humans. We're you know, we feel emotions. You know, we are sensitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and if you're putting on a mask to just hide that every single day, and then you're going home and then you're faced with all these emotions, all the things that you weren't thinking about while you're working, while you're wearing that mask, you know, alcohol becomes just a very, very convenient way of escaping, you know, all of those problems that you're now faced with once you've taken off the mask. And it's, you know, I think in society, you know, she's like alcohol's like the dirty devil that's just, it's there. It's just always there. You know, you hear on the radio on a Friday, oh, so you're probably firing up the Barbie and cracking your first beer for the weekend, Yeah. Well, you know what? Not everyone's doing that, and that's probably not healthy for everyone to be doing, you know, but it's yeah, it's something that's very much sold that it's okay to be a borderline alcoholic in society, and I think that's very toxic. You know, I think it's important for people to, you know, embrace that time to get to know themselves and get to, I guess, have those moments of reflection and make sense of their day, make sense of their decision making, make sense of why you are where you are in life. And that doesn't happen if you're drunk all the time.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, isn't it? Because it's so ingrained in the social culture that it's almost like another limb. Like, it's, if you remove alcohol, it's like you're removing your left arm. It's just so deeply ingrained, and I think it takes a true warrior, or maybe not warrior, but maybe a true an individual that wants to grow. It takes that type of person to actually abstain from alcohol, because it's not easy to abstain from alcohol. It's a very difficult thing. Very difficult. Yeah.
You can say that again. It's honestly, you know, I'm so grateful that I was able to, you know, and a lot of people, you know, especially people in recovery, they say, well, you're always going to be an alcoholic. You know, you're now just a recovering alcoholic. And, you know, I don't like sort of terminology like that, because I feel like it lulls you into this sort of sense of that you're always going to be a victim. You know, I'm always going to have this. It's always going to be there. And, you know, I feel like, you know, we go through stages in life, and obviously we go through certain things. And you know what? I was just a person who'd had some things happen that I couldn't deal with, and that's just the way that I dealt with things. You know, now I deal with things a lot differently. You know, I still have the anxiety. I still, you know, obviously, you know, trying to launch a business and you know, like doing all these other things. You know, there's always the stress. There's always that anxiety there, but there's other ways to manage it. You know, like I personally, you know, meditation is huge for me now. Like, you know, if I feel those panicky, anxious thoughts coming on, like, I know I've got to stop. I've got to get away from the noise for a minute and come back to me and just quiet the mind for a moment. You know, and obviously there's plenty of other ways you can begin to manage your own thoughts and manage your own emotions besides reaching for a bottle. But you know, like you said before, it's so ingrained in our society that it's almost, you know, it's normalized to have a beer at the end of a stressful day and you know, just completely shut away those thought patterns altogether, rather than coming up with other ways to manage them.
Yeah. So what's the biggest, I guess, from a self-development perspective, what's been the biggest have you noticed any shifts in the way you handle things now that you've stopped drinking? Has anything changed in that regard?
Excuse me. Yeah. So look, for me, the first 12 months of navigating this, you know, obviously you're still going, you know, life is still happening, you know, life doesn't stop, and life will continue to throw us curveballs, you know. And I remember the first 12 months, you know, when I was going through things, and I would go for a walk or whatever to clear my mind, and then I'd walk past a bottle shop, and those automatic responses that you've been playing out for so long beginning to almost take over, and you just have this urge to walk in, and you know, and obviously that was little minor wins that I got where every time I wouldn't walk into a bottle shop, or you know, I wouldn't just walk out, go to the nearest pub or whatever, you know, wherever I could get a drink. But I feel like, you know, if anything, each one of those little wins has just built up my emotional resilience. And so I don't think there's been any sort of specific event or change, but it's just been a build up of getting all those little wins over time, which has just given me so much confidence and resilience within myself that alcohol is not something that I need. It's not something that's included in the vision for my future self anymore. And it's not something that, I remember the first time I got sober, and it was this obsession every day, counting the days, and I would have dreams about drinking, and it was almost obsessive. It was all I was thinking about, and there was no real growth in that period. I switched up. I switched up drinking for caffeine, and just got on a ridiculous caffeine buzz every day while I was working. And there was no real growth. And so this time, it's been a series of just small wins, which has built up that emotional resilience, which has completely changed the way I look at alcohol. And now it's fantastic. There's a whole bunch of alcohol-free beers that are on the market, which are fantastic. For me, I feel a lot more comfortable going to a pub or going to a social event, and at least being able to have the prop, I call it. It's just something to clink on another bottle with someone and say cheers, and just engage in that side of it without really engaging in that side of it. And hey, there's always the placebo effect of having that bittery, something cold and bittery on your tongue, which was kind of weird for the first time. I've only recently tried one of those a few months ago, and I had to check the bottle again. Think, is this actually alcohol free?
Yeah.
But no, it's better than going to a social event with a glass of water, and they say, "Oh, is that we got a gin and tonic there?" No, mate, just a water.
Just the water. Yeah, there's always that stigma attached to it. It's like, what are you drinking? Oh, I'm not drinking tonight. Oh, you're not drinking tonight. Oh, okay.
Why not? Yeah. And then, all of a sudden you've got the lens on you, and someone's trying to put you on show, and it's nice. No one can see the little 0.0 on my bottle, so none the wiser.
This guy wants to improve himself. Oh, let's take him down a peg.
It's
like it's that type of
And you get that, especially in those environments, the pub and the club, and hey, what's going on over here? Let me alone.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty difficult to. I think because I last year in Corona I made a New Year's resolution, and I said to myself, I'm going to try and give up the drink, and I went 11 months without drinking. So it was actually my 30th birthday. So I thought I've got to just have a taste, but I've never had any real addictive issues with alcohol. So I guess for me, I've kind of I can have one or two drinks and I'm fine. And I guess from a self-development perspective, like you don't need alcohol. You don't need it. I mean, it's just it definitely helps you socially. I mean, it definitely makes things a little bit smoother, but it's not. You don't need it. I mean, you can be charismatic, you can be confident without it. You don't need the alcohol.
It's quite interesting. The first time I got sober, a good friend of mine who was in AA with me, a friend of mine from high school, we thought it would be fun to start going clubbing sober. So we'd go out to the nightclubs, and it was a very interesting experience. Trying to, I guess, figure out how to be confident and yes, be charismatic, and in those types of social settings which you're only used to being in, very intoxicated. And it was quite eye-opening just seeing. Between 9 and 10 o'clock, or once the club's open, that first couple of hours where the bar lines would just be huge and the dance floor would be empty. you know, and you kind of see everyone just sitting to the side, just trying to down their drinks as quick as possible so they can find comfort in this setting. And me and my mate, we would just try and we'd go to the dance floor and we'd just dance all wacky and wild, and we would really just try and do everything we could to just loosen up in that social setting, because it was almost like just relearning how to live a little bit and relearning how to conduct yourself, you know, in these types of environments. And like I said, it was very eye-opening to see that, well, no one in those environments has the confidence to just be themselves from the moment they walk in, and they're relying on this the next drink to I guess give them the confidence to put that mask on that they need. So yeah, interesting.
It is interesting when you put things into perspective. When you're that sober person, those sober eyes, and you can actually see a few more things, and you kind of look at how, because this might sound a bit creepy, but I like to people watch, not for anything unusual, but I just like to see how people move, how they walk, how they talk. Yeah. And it fascinates me. And when you're in a club setting, you're sober, and you've got alcoholics around you, just people wasted, and it's not a pleasant feeling, because they're just in this consumption mode. They're in this, let's get wasted, let's keep going.
Yeah.
It's not I don't know how for me, I can't be sober in those settings, because it's pretty challenging. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty challenging.
Well, that was I think the idea behind it. It was like, let's just throw ourselves into an environment where we would usually just be completely, you know, in this different state, and just see what it's like. You know, see if we can navigate that sober. Of course, it was a bit of a dangerous setting to be in. You know, he was someone that had under 6 months up of sobriety. But like I said, it was definitely an experience where, we were able to just watch and read the environment a lot more, and go, oh well, hey, a lot of the people here are sitting here kind of feeling socially awkward and really just relying on you know, what we typically would be relying on as well. So it's very, very eye-opening.
I know a few people that they actually just go out sober, and you know, I think what it is this awkward energy. I think it's, you're not in your body. You're not actually present. I think once you're present, aware, and you're in your body, that awkward energy kind of dissipates, and you start to just, you do those goofy moves. Who cares whatever you're doing, dude? Seriously, no one's watching. You're not on a professional dancing show. You're just there to have fun, you know. You're just there to loosen up, you know. Exactly.
And you know, that's the thing. Like, you know, an environment like that, it doesn't have to be I guess socially intimidating. You know, and a lot of people, they're going out with the, you know, intent of either picking up, or, you know, they're usually, you know, they're dressed to the max, and they're trying to, you know,
they're flexing.
I've got my gold watch and I'm super cool, and all the rest of it. And you know, it's the masks that people put on to navigate these certain social settings. And 2.5 years into sobriety, you know, I've been able to really just unpack a lot of those internal processes which were leading me to, wear the mask all the time. And you know, when you can begin to just take those off a little, then the world becomes a lot less of a scary place. It becomes a lot less intimidating. Like you said before, like, you know, coming back into your body yourself, and you know, beginning to manage your thoughts a little, and instead of being just a slave to the monkey mind, you can begin to stop and actually look at some of those thoughts and realize how ridiculous they are and how much they don't serve you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess begin to change those thought patterns into ones that will serve you and will bring you into a better place in life.
Yeah. Are you a big meditator? So you mentioned before you're into meditation.
Yeah, so look, when I went out, when I moved away from the noise for 12 months there, moved away from my hometown, I, I started finding myself drawn to a lot of different materials, and as opposed to just drowning my time away on Netflix, I found myself opening up different books. And
Yeah.
it couldn't have come at a better time, because a lot of these books were touching on concepts such as mindfulness and spirituality and yoga and meditation. And for me, this was very, very well received in those first few months of sobriety, and it really just I kind of got a thirst for knowledge. And as I began to explore all these all these different concepts, I sort of realized that I had inadvertently been finding meditative states throughout my life, as far as making music and getting into that creative flow where you're not projecting into the future, you're not focused on the past and all the mistakes you've made and whatever it is, deadlines, this, that, the other. You are literally just in the present moment, and you're able to just flow, and you lose hours of your life in that beautiful state.
Yeah.
And I realized that this, as I sort of started to practice different types of meditation, that this was definitely something for me at this point in life. I love the spiritual teacher Ram Dass, and he actually, there's a 10-minute meditation. It's just an audio guided meditation where he repeats a mantra, which is "I am loving awareness," which for me is just it's almost like it's just an absolute I guess soul recharger. Sort of, in 10 minutes I can go from borderline panic attack because of all these different compounding stresses that I'm focused on, and my mind's jumping from this to that, and I realize no, I need to just come back and stop.
Yeah.
And that 10-minute meditation can just ground me so much within myself, and it gives me almost this sense of interconnectedness with all life and the world around me, and the mysterious universe we have out there, we look out to every night. And it brings me back to that place of oneness. And I come out of that going from this wild mind, this crazy energy, to just at peace, at one. I can just, gosh, sometimes I come out of it with a couple of tears strolling down my face, but they're tears of joy, because I've found that quiet space for a moment, and it's kind of just been able to realign all those thoughts and shuffle them and prioritize them in my subconscious mind, and I come out of that feeling completely refreshed. And it's something that I crave now, it's especially, at this point with this business, it's something that I'm very grateful to have in my life. It's a concept that I'm super grateful that, I was introduced to, and it's something that very much, I feel like it's important for anyone to have that, I guess, that outlet to be able to escape from the mind's narrative for a moment, that's not drugs and not alcohol. And I think those moments of quietness, and it shouldn't be reserved for when we're just asleep. It's for me been it's I guess in the morning, during the day, whenever I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed, and then I try and get another one out before I go to sleep at night, just to sort of bring me back down, and so my mind isn't, I guess, racing as much as it would be. But yeah, it's something I've got in my belt now, a notch I've got on my belt, which has proven to be super helpful, and allowed me to just come back to basics and get things done.
What do you think the mind is?
That's a very complex question. I've actually got a good book on that at home. Haven't opened it yet though. So look, I think of consciousness as, I guess, all that there really is. And so if the mind is the center of consciousness, then we would go to say that our experiences is all that there is. And so for me, as I've delved into all these different concepts, it's they ran these tests. I'm not sure on the specifics of it all, but it was essentially watching the way particles and waveforms, I guess, interact with human observation and without human observation, and they found that the way these particles interact and is different when they're observed compared to when they're not, which goes into the whole projected universe sort of theory that everything that we see and engage with is I guess a collective product of our internal workings. And so, oh gosh, I could says, I'm a very sort of open-minded person, so I love taking on these concepts and reading about them, not really adhering to them, not really, I guess, putting too much value into them. But yeah, it's the mind is, I think, one of the most beautiful, complex, the fact that everything we see, whatever it might be, like these little cool technological things, it was all once a thought. It was all once a thought. And this was when I was younger and I was very much into my music, which kind of set off that light for creativity. The most fascinating thing for me was that, okay, I can hear something in here. I can jump on my laptop and get in my software and next thing you know, I've taken that from here and now it's out in the real world and it's something that other people can hear and enjoy and listen to. And then, expanding on that, like, the power of okay, well, if we get a couple of different artists in, a singer-songwriter and a pianist or whatever it might be, a local hip-hop artist, and, we put our minds together, it's absolute magic, and so, yeah, the brain, the mind, it's honestly, I think, just so fascinating. And I could sit here and gosh, talk about that for hours, all the different possibilities about what the mind is and how it works and how we came to this state of consciousness, and when we found that self-awareness to be able to look out and go, okay, what are we? What are we? Where did we come from? And where are we going? Especially with concepts of, like AI and VR and the internet. These are the main ingredients of the Matrix. And who's to say that we haven't been there before?
Who's to say that we're not in it right now?
That's it, my man. It's like, again, like, you can't put too much. Like,
yeah, it will drive you insane, won't it? That constant
the what ifs.
What ifs. I'm gonna throw one more at you because I've got this is just bouncing around in my head at the moment. And do you believe in God?
Oof.
Open and honest answer. Open and honest answer.
So my understanding of God has gone, I never really adhered to any kind of religious ideology.
Yeah.
And the last few years I've kind of began to look at the concept of God from a lot of different angles, and for me, God has become that divine creative force that flows within all of us, and God for me is more a way of looking at consciousness as a whole, and you know, that power to, well, I guess power is sort of a funny word, but you know, that ability to be able to think and create, and you know, I guess interact with the world around us and shape the world around us. You know, I think that is the godlike divinity that is very deep within us all, and it's for me. I'm only really beginning to build a concept of God again in the last couple of years, and for me, that's I guess the only way I can express my understanding of God, not being something that is separate from myself, but something that is, I guess, a divine-like essence that flows within all of us.
Sorry to interject. So just to unpack what you're saying there, would you just correct me if I'm wrong? Would you say that each individual, so we as humans are God in a sense?
I believe the fact, the experience itself is the godlike essence, and so as opposed to seeing God as a figure, an almighty figure with the power to create and the power to destroy, I believe that is the essence that or the quality that is within all life itself, and I believe that is what connects us all, as opposed to you know, with these stories and ideologies, keeps us separate. And really, I guess, breeds extremism in some cases, where people rest a lot of their sense of self and their identity into these ideologies. And I feel like this concept of God allows me to feel a lot more connected to the ones around me, whether they're in a very unbiased sense, you know, just to look and love and appreciate all that there is.
Well said. That's yeah, well said. Yeah, we've gone pretty far down the rabbit hole.
I love it.
I love it as well. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Oh gosh.
So I thought we'd switch one more gear. I don't know how many gears I've got in my gearbox, but
let's check it out.
love life. How's it going?
Life. Oh goodness. Well, I at this point, I have been seeing a lovely woman for the last 18 months, and yet we have been able to grow in a lot of ways together, and I've been able to get a lot of value, you know, out of this experience with her, and I'd like to think that you know, that's definitely mutual. But yes, I'm happily taken, and yes, engaged in a loving, healthy relationship, which I'm hoping I will continue to learn from and grow from as time goes on.
Engaged to marry or engaged?
No, not engaged to marry. No, not engaged. You might have thrown me in it there, Kristian. Not at this point, no.
I might have thrown you under the bus there a little bit. Oh no. Oh man. No, that's awesome, dude. That's really great to hear. Can I ask how you guys met?
I started working on a resort on an island here just off the Gold Coast, and yes, I started there as working in the bar, and then started doing a bit of kitchen work, and this lovely lady was one of the housekeepers there, and yeah, we sort of started to get to know each other, and yeah, then decided we wanted to know each other a bit better. And here we
Yeah,
are,
right.
18 months later.
Oh, that's nice to hear. That's really really nice to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we've hit the hour mark. I think I might call it in there. It's
Done well.
been yeah, it's been really well. It's been awesome experience to speak with you,
Yeah,
Luke. So
definitely. This has been awesome. I haven't done I've done another podcast interview before. This is the first time I've jumped on a video, so it was a little bit daunting at the start. I'm not used to jumping in front of the camera too often, but no, this has been really really awesome. It's been a great experience, Kristian. So thank you so much for inviting
not a
me
problem.
onto the show.
And is there anything you're promoting at the moment? How can people reach you?
Look, if anyone would like to check out the Little Boss Smart Business Card, they can find that one on facebook.com /Little Boss Card or instagram.com/Little Boss Card. If they want to follow my journey, I don't have a Facebook page, but they can find me on Instagram if they search for Hey Luke Cole. And then the same on Facebook if they want to go and connect with me there. And I'm always willing to shed some light if people are wanting to talk about their own experiences with alcohol or even just get some advice if they're wanting to make a bit of a shift and maybe go down the same path that I did with e-com and you know, finding ways to you know, get away from the rat race a little bit and create something of their own. So yeah, if always willing to connect and chat and give some advice if it's something that I'm able to give advice on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I hope you